الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Alhamdulillah, we begin with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by sending the best of salutations, peace and blessings upon His last and final messenger Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Another point, Maulana Usman Ahsan rahmatullah alayhi writes within this book, Jazal A'mal, that when a sinner sins, the very sinner attracts evil influence. So much so that this evil influence not only harms the sinner, but it spreads across the earth, the globe. And it brings harm to the other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. And once the damage is done, that very creation, be it from the animal kingdom, be it any other creation, it curses the sinner in return. If there is lack of rainfall or a similar natural disaster, you can call it a natural disaster, but it's happening because of a sin that was committed upon the earth. So Maulana Usman writes, he mentions that when a sinner sins, he attracts evil influence. And furthermore, this evil influence or the evil of the sin, it spreads to the earth, which causes disturbance or somewhat of a discomfort to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then that very creation curses the sinner in return, because ultimately it was because of the actions of this person this happened. You know how often we tend to point a finger at someone because of something happens and it was clearly a mistake of an individual because of his lack of responsibility. Why did you do it? You should have known better. Didn't you think of others? Didn't you weigh in the consequences of your actions? Like, what were you thinking? So we kind of resort to that rhetoric where we shun the person who committed or did the wrong. SubhanAllah, this is what the creation is doing against the sinner. So a few points to mention and speak of in this one point of Maulana Usman Ahsan rahimahullah. The truth is, again, when a person commits a sin, there is without a doubt evil that is attracted to this individual. And many times it's directed at the person himself, and sometimes at the people around this individual, and sometimes even far abroad. So in our day and age, for example, things have gone pretty messy as of lately, especially after COVID, subhanAllah. A lot of similar cases where people are mentally disturbed, they're not able to rest at ease, they're not able to fall asleep well, they're paranoid, they feel bothered, they're emotionally, spiritually disturbed, and there's a lot going on with them. And subhanAllah, the crux or the very core of this entire situation is, let's look to see what kind of actions is this person doing or has this person done or committed. For example, a person who has a habit of doing wrong and evil, do you think good will come his way? A person who is in a habit of lying and deceiving, do you think any khair will come his way? A person who's in the hobby and who's always carries an ill intent towards others, do you think any goodness will come towards this person's way? So it's basically, in brief, negativity attracts negativity. And if a person is positive and so are his actions, inshallah, the outcome and the things that will come his way would also be positive. So good actions will breed good outcomes. And evil actions will plant that seed of having an evil outcome. So when we just consider this much, that a person, if I were to fall into the sin, sometimes not only will I bear the burden, but people around me will do so as well. They will feel the pressure. They will feel, that vibe in the air. And subhanallah, it's so strange for you to really think that many homes are so disturbed. Seemingly, what they have, what they're blessed with, is every person's dream. But yet, the emotional instability, yet the spiritual disturbance, the lack of contentment, and the sense of unrest is all-time high. Hold on. You're driving the best of cars. You own the best of possessions. You have the best of homes. The job or the workforce that you're in, people dream of being in. Why are you so mentally disturbed? Like, what's upsetting you? What's the reason? What's the cause? You have everything that we see. And subhanAllah, the very individual is complaining about not being able to fall asleep at night. And strange enough, in our time, every house has a medicine cabinet. And if not every individual, maybe every other or third person is prescribed medicine to be able to fall asleep. Right? Let's go back to when a person does wrong, commits an act of evil. This doesn't necessarily have to be something which is way overboard, but something very small even. Haram income, for example. Haram dealing. Going out of bounds when it comes to the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do we think really we could trespass His boundaries and hudud and feel no heat? SubhanAllah, it really boils down to that. And then not only that, without going into much detail or in depth, when we commit a sin or we fall into haram, not only are we attracting evil in terms of an outcome, but we are in essence, in fact, in reality, attracting evil beings as well. Shayateen and jinn. If, for example, we're in a haram, do you think the other side wouldn't want to come and partake in that haram with you? Another example could be a person who is never in a state of purity. He's a mess, najas, subhanallah. He's never so mindful of tahara. Guess what? He's that magnet of the other kind, of the other being. And not only that, it starts from even whispers. It starts from even, like being paranoid. It starts and there's no end to it. And then very people come to the Aimma that, can you prescribe me a dua? Can you tell me something to recite that I could feel assured, I could feel safe, that I could feel calm? Right? Sometimes, Maulana, please forgive me for saying this. I'm not too big of a fan of recordings, because if the word gets out and an individual hears this video and they're able to click and link, oh, he was talking about me in my case, But usually the masajid that I go to is like, okay, closed doors, very select people. You just kind of go all out because al-majalisu bil amana. No one's really going to go out and say anything. I recently went to a house and they called me. They said, look, we need a little bit of help. Our son is going through some things. I'm like, okay. And I know the child. I mean, the son. He's in college, and he goes on and telling me what's happening. He's seeing things, this and that. And subhanallah, I was able to relate to him far better than I was able to relate to his parents, mom and dad. And then before leaving the home, after having listened to his ordeal and his experiences and what's happening, what's going on, what he's going through, his mom comes in our session and says, Brother Usman, I agree to whatever you're saying. I myself have seen things in the house. So before leaving, I pulled the son to the side. And again, he's not a child. He's not a kid. He's an adult, mashallah, attending college. I said, look, listen. I was in his house. I said, all these pictures you have in your home, take them down. All these pictures, you have pictures of horses and animals and people and your family pictures, mashallah, like the maximum frame size you could possibly find in the market. There it is. Take them down. Why did I say that? You guys know very well. There's a clear hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in a home where pictures are hung or pictures are on display or there are pictures, right? Malaika refuse to enter into that home. Malaika, angels of mercy. If angels aren't entering, who do you think is entering? Right? And I told him, I said, look, man, I don't know if your mom and dad would agree to this, but don't tell them and just, convince them anyhow your way. Like, what's this frame of this horse doing, man? I mean, like what is? I don't get it. And you've got, like pictures and frames of family pictures, mashallah, as big as it can be, cats, and I just don't. But obviously, you have to, convince people diplomatically or very with hikmah. Otherwise, you're never going to be called back in that house, right?
Yeah.
And this is just one case. This is one case. So the more rooted we stay within our deen, the more khair and afiyah and safety and stability and emotional contentment and our spiritual rest and ease we will find as well. But when we display evil, we're going to attract evil. We're going to attract evil. I mean, subhanallah, people are so disturbed. They are so disturbed. I sometimes, people ask me about certain cases. I'm like, look, I'm not dealing with this. Go find a specialist. I wish I had that, that note which I could just kind of write a prescription and a referral. Here you go. Go and see so and so. But at the bottom line, if for any person to just kind of step back and look at the bigger picture, my brother and sister, you're violating not just one command of Allah, so many different commands of Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you're asking me for one dua to read so that your life can turn around and subhanallah becomes a marvelous and exemplary lifestyle to live. You guys, mashallah, look, we're not reserved here. Interest, riba, is a curse. It's a la'na, without a doubt. So how do we hope to find peace within a home that has interest in it? If you find it, let me know. And people are like, man, I don't know. We just don't know what's going on. Subhanallah, evil attracts evil, no doubt about it. And sometimes the little bit of evil that we fall into, there's a whole lot more evil coming along with it. And which isn't just directed at me, but at others as well. And subhanallah, why is it that so much emphasis is given upon daily adhkar, making sure you never miss your salah, remain within the state of purity, do good things? Because if you do all that, inshallah, all the evil will be repelled away. Even if it comes your way, salah, for example, what does it do? It repels evil. Something comes to your house and you have salah established in your home, it won't be able to, it cannot enter. It will not be able to enter. And then you supplement it with additional adhkar and ad'iyah that you read in the morning and the evening. All these things are things which are of good nature and they're divine. They have a power. To simply tell you, if I say harsh words, if I subhanallah, may Allah forgive me if I ever say anything harsh to anyone, please forgive me as well. But you would take that to heart, like, man, how rude. They were just words. I didn't get up or do anything. I never got physical with anybody. But point is, these words have weight. Now, if me, an imperfect being, individual, may Allah forgive me and allow me success in this world as well as the akhirah and accept me. If a guy like me, a person like me, my words have carry weight and hurts you, imagine the power and the weight of the words of Allah. The Quran and the Sunnah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how pure and pristine, divine. And then if we utter it and say, do you think it won't have any effect? Of course it would. But as long as the other conditions are being met as well. In this person's case that I shared with you, go ahead, man. I mean, you have to recite Ayatul Kursi, you got to recite all your du'as, but take all these things out of your house too. Right? It's like an example would be, there's a wound. Someone, you get hurt. Now, obviously, to treat that wound, what do? You'll make sure the wound is cleaned, and then ointment or whatever kind of medicine is applied, and you band-aid it up, you cover it, and you treat it well, and you're cautious about this wound until it heals. So you're going through this process of treating the wound, right? Now, what if a person goes on to say, well, I think the tube is enough, or this ointment, I'm taking medicine, and you become carefree about it. You're washing it, rinsing it, bacteria, germs, doesn't matter. You're careless about it. I don't think it's going to heal. In fact, what happens? Infection. It'll spread. And you wonder, like, I did apply the tube, but then what happened? The same mindset when it comes to being able to repel evil, you have to carry on doing the good. Only then the evil stays out. But if you think that there's more evil in your life and very little good, the evil is going to repel the good out. So you have to make sure you're on the right side of the scale here in doing as much as good as you can. Because again, a sin attracts negativity. It attracts evil. And subhanallah, after COVID, there are so many cases that come to our attention, subhanAllah, from various sources, because it was like, not just lockdown for the ins kind, but the jinn and shayateen kind too. Everyone kind of mingled together under the same roof, right? So inshallah, in brief, if we have a habit of falling into a sin or committing a certain act which is inappropriate, repent from it, continue repenting from it, and do your best not to go back to it. And assist yourself by doing good. And if you feel that, okay, there was this one thing that you've been doing, it's become a habit, it's hard to kick away, you know what? Increase the good that you can do. Increase it so much so that that very evil act gets overshadowed. And inshallah, in time, it'll completely be out of your life. So that way, all you attract is nothing but good. And we need good. SubhanAllah, we need good. There's a lot of evil out there. Inshallah, try your best to do good and to attract good. And the only way to attract good is by doing good, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the Islam deen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين. لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله